Do you ever stop and ask yourself what your favorite memory is? Not just a good one or the first one that jumps to your mind, but your favorite. One that's really special, one that actually holds a lot of meaning for you and that you're excited to share with other people. Because I have always had that memory in mind. I know what it is and I get excited to tell people about it. It's even a good conversation starter that I like to have with people is asking them what their favorite memory is. And usually they have to give it some thought. Or they might just give me one that comes to mind after a couple minutes of thinking, but I always have mine ready to go. But every time I share it, it's always a little bit different, or I feel rushed to get all the details out or to condense it. And so I've always wanted to be able to have a place where I can fully tell the story and fully let everyone know about my favorite memory. So let's dive in to Porter Robinson and my favorite memory. I grew up listening to pretty standard music, I'd say. It started with whatever my parents would throw on in the car. Some Madonna, NSYNC, or the most recent Now That's What I Call Music CD compilation thing. So mostly just pop and whatever was on the radio. But through friends and just the media that I was consuming, I started to branch out. And a big part of this came when one of my friends introduced me to Daft Punk. And for those of you that know Daft Punk, I'm sure you could guess that this was a very monumental moment in my life.
The sun's in my heart and I'm ready for love.
Through Daft Punk and Interstellar 5555, their Alive tour videos and album, I just became obsessed with a whole different side of music and what live shows and producing could even be. Their shows weren't just listening to their music. They weren't just hitting play and you get to, I get to hear the song, but it's live. It was an entirely unique experience. And that's where I really became hooked. I started to explore dance music, EDM, techno, happy hardcore, dubstep, drum and bass, and pretty much just every other subgenre I could possibly find in a Google search. I used BearShare and LimeWire to download plenty of terrible quality music and probably many viruses on the family computer just so I could potentially hear a new song that I hadn't heard before. But then I upgraded and started using terrible YouTube to MP3 converters, just ripping the most abysmal quality MP3s from the internet that I could possibly gather to throw on either my Juke cell phone or my Sony PSP. Just top tier quality. I was truly thriving in the world of electronic music. Oh my God, love it. But my curiosity just continued to grow and I continued to diversify what I was listening to on a daily basis. And also my friend group naturally followed along and we've just all listened to that type of music and still do to this day. Editor Tyler here also interjecting to say that Dance Dance Revolution, DDR, also played a big part in my introduction to electronic music, which someone else might have had a similar experience.
Let's go!
Not to name names.
First place I even heard electronic music was I don't know, you may have heard of this game, Dance Dance Revolution, with the 4 arrows and you step on it, and yeah, that's where I first heard electronic music.
But then we get to 2012, a very important year, I would say. This is the year I graduated high school, amongst other things, but we're here to talk about a very specific moment. I'm with my friend Tony, and we are very into the YouTube world. We like to watch videos and music videos and all of that sort of stuff. But today we found ourselves on Vimeo, not YouTube, but Vimeo. But on that day, I happened to stumble upon a music video for a little song called Language by Porter Robinson. I honestly can't tell you if I was very familiar with Porter prior to that. I know I had heard some remixes of his song through the Spitfire EP, because I know I already listened to Knife Party, Schism, and Kill the Noise, so I was familiar with their respective remixes of his songs, but I definitely wouldn't have considered myself a Porter listener at the time. But Language was definitely about to change that. The music video was enjoyable. It was a little strange, a little dreamlike. I enjoyed it for sure, but it was the song itself that just immediately had its grip around me. Just chokehold on my body, on my soul. Language just captured me. It was just the energy it had, just the thumping, just those big chords and the big melody and those bells or piano or whatever it is, the dun dun. Like, oh, it's just so good. And I was obsessed. This song is gonna be my whole personality. It became my favorite song of that year, and it's still one of my favorite songs to this day. It also made its appearance a lot of times in my life. I live in Maryland, and there's a popular vacation spot called Ocean City. And so it became a ritual of sorts that when we are entering Ocean City, when we're crossing the big bridge into Ocean City, you gotta put on language. You gotta put on language, roll down the windows, and crank it up to 1,000 and blast it. You gotta blast it, or you're not gonna have a good vacation unless you do it. It's the ritual. You gotta play language. Shortly after, both in 2012 and in 2013, I attended Ultra Music Festival.
What do you think that says?
Kyle
Says
I'm trying.
Ultra.
Ultra what?
I didn't say it. I forget the rest.
Ultra gay.
He got me.
And my teenage self was not exactly built for festivals.
Okay, well, Tyler's kind of bleeding right now, so I'm gonna shut off the camera. Bye. It's nice meeting you guys.
But due to this experience, I did get to see Porter Robinson live for the first time. Now, it was in a festival setting, so maybe not the most intimate way to experience it, but it was definitely very memorable. I finally got to hear Language live, my favorite song. I got to hear it live in a crowd of people who all were dancing and jumping along to it. It was incredible. Also, I just want to point out like the lineup at Ultra. I did not know, I was not like as in tune with those artists as I am now, but what a freaking lineup for both of those years. Wow. I was spoiled and I didn't even know it. But now is where things start to change a little bit. My life takes a turn, I would say. Like I said, in 2012, I graduated high school. So now I'm out there, I'm starting my adult life, finding my first job and just realizing life is a struggle sometimes. But I did happen to stumble my way into my very first relationship. I got a girlfriend in 2013, my first girlfriend. I'm sure you can all imagine how excited I was. I had a girlfriend. I had someone I cared about. This was an exciting my life is at its peak. It can't get any better than this. But during this time, during this relationship, Porter started releasing some singles. Something was on the horizon. Porter was getting ready to release his debut album, Worlds. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. I listened to the singles as they came out. Sad Machine was the one that definitely resonated with me the most. It was definitely my favorite of the bunch. I'll admit at the time, I didn't really vibe with Sea of Voices. I'm sorry, I was an idiot. Things have changed. I was very stupid back then. But either way, I was very, very much anticipating this album. But then things started to go downhill a little bit. The details are definitely not important at this moment, but to summarize, the relationship I had with my ex, or at least the second half of it, just was not good. It was not healthy. I was treated very poorly. It was just really bad for my mental health and my emotional health. And even to this day, I feel like I hold some scars from it, some emotional scars, some baggage that I still have as a result of that relationship. But we're just gonna fast forward to the end here. We do eventually break up. It was for the best. But soon after that, the day comes. August 12th, 2014. Worlds has arrived. The album is here. I can finally enjoy it in all of its glory. So to celebrate, I drive over to Tony's house, the same person that discovered language with me, so that we can enjoy the album and listen to it together.
Just down, Tyler. That's Tony. We're your best friends, hopefully.
So I go over to his house, we play through the whole album probably more than once, just enjoying every song and having a great time like best friends do. But after a fun day of just portering it up, things are winding down a bit and I get on my phone. I decide to hop onto Snapchat because at the time I was an adolescent who still used it, and I saw a story that was posted from my ex. So I opened the story, and I don't remember how the conversation got to the point that it did. I don't remember the trajectory here, the segues that were made, but through the conversation with her on Snapchat, I was informed that she had cheated on me while we were together, amongst other things. And that broke me completely. In that moment, I was just shattered immediately. I was hurt, I was confused, I felt betrayed. I never experienced an emotion like that before. I never experienced genuine heartbreak or betrayal like that before. How could someone do this to me? I remember immediately switching to my messaging app and texting my mom and telling her, I think I need to go back to therapy. We need to set up a new session. I need to talk to somebody. And I just remember driving home and just blasting Worlds. Just breaking down the whole ride home. I remember crying, I remember sobbing, just driving and just blasting Worlds the whole way. I had lost, I remember slamming on the steering wheel and screaming and just I lost it. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what am I supposed to do with these emotions? But life did eventually move on. Over the coming months, I did get better. I got my closure of sorts. I spent time with friends. A lot of my friends were there for me. Tony and my friend Kyle and Tyler, everyone was there for me, got me through this time. And also Worlds. Porter and his music were there for me just as much as my friends were. Worlds got me through this breakup. So naturally, I have a lot of emotional ties to that album. I'm so thankful to have had those songs with me during that time of my life. But as you know, with any artist with a brand new album out, he's also gonna have a tour. He's gonna be traveling around, playing the songs, having a good time. So then the day came, exactly 10 years ago to this day, October 13th, 2014. The World's Tour has made its way to DC at the 930 Club, and I was not going to miss it. So me and Tony, once again, the person that's been here through every step of this journey, are there at the 930 Club to enjoy the show. And just what a show it was. Now, a lot of this is nostalgia talking, sure, but it is still to this day the greatest live show that I have ever been to. I think it's mostly because of the emotional ties that I had to Worlds at the time, very much elevating the experience. But it was just exactly what I was looking for and more. It exceeded all expectations and it completely redefined what I expected from future shows moving forward. I mentioned Daft Punk before. I loved their music as well, but unfortunately I was never able to see them live, and I am still so upset that I did not get to experience a live 2007 in person. Oh, if I had a time machine, that is where I would go. I would go to that show. I would experience that live. That would You know, the real ones know. The real ones know, okay? I just thought it was so cool that they could take all of their songs and reinvent them, mash them together, change them, remix them. It wasn't just here's harder, better, faster, stronger. It was here's 3 of our songs fused together into this brand new song that you've never heard before, but has elements of all the songs you love. Not to mention the giant pyramid that certainly elevated the experience. But then I got to experience Worlds live, and he did the same thing. It wasn't just hearing Sad Machine and then Flicker and maybe a little Divinity. Every song was a little different. Most songs were changed. They had an extra segment. They were mashed up with another one of his songs, or just completely reinvented, reimagined. It was like experiencing the album in a completely new way. I didn't know what was going to happen next. I didn't even know what the next part of the song that I've heard a million times was going to sound like. It was exciting. It was thrilling. And the fact that everybody there was having this exact same experience. Nobody had really seen Porter do this before. This was a new experience for everyone here, and we all got to experience it together. These songs that we all loved, we were all excited to see Porter, to hear Worlds, but we got to hear it in a unique way together for the first time. So just that energy, that collective viewing of this experience was just so beautiful. It was just an absolutely incredible show. Worlds is about escapism, about going to another world. And even beyond the music, the visuals helped capture this weird, ethereal, whimsical imagery popping up on the screen just accompanied the music so well and really elevated the music. It's hard to even put into words how captivated I was by the whole experience. I already loved this album, but seeing it live just further confirmed that. For those of you that have heard Worlds, if you haven't heard the Worlds live set, do yourself a favor and go listen to it. Trust me. But then it was over. It had ended. The lights dim, Porter walks off stage. But obviously, we've all been to live shows. We know how it works. We know the routine. It's not really over. There's gonna be an encore. So naturally, everyone starts chanting, Porter, Porter, Porter. You know, as you do. And he comes back on stage.
So I've done like 38-ish shows on this tour so far. I have to say that you guys knew this record better than anyone else. Like more singing. The people in Washington D.C. and surrounding areas know Worlds really, really well. So I love you so much for that.
And then slowly, a sort of heavily distorted vocal starts coming into play. At first you can't quite make out what it's saying, but then slowly becomes a little more recognizable. I know this song. This is Language. The melody kicks in, the crowd goes wild, it's come full circle, Language is here, what started it all for me, let's do this. The song plays, the drop comes, everybody's jumping, this is the greatest moment of my life, it's Language at the end of this just beautiful show, what a way to close it, those bells going off like, oh my god, Language holds up, man. Language never stops being fantastic. But then the bridge comes, the slow part. I didn't really mention it before, but Language does have lyrics. Not many, but there are some. It's a very calm moment in the song, just a light melody and the vocals. And of course, everyone in the crowd sings along. Just this anticipation as we sing during this slow moment. We know that we're about to get that final release, that final drop, the final big melody, and this is the encore. This is the final moments of the show. We gotta be ready for this. So we're singing, we're chanting, we're ready for the crescendo, and something's different. This isn't the Language that I'm used to. There's no thumping beat. The happy, upbeat melody is no longer there. Instead, it's a series of notes, a series of chords that almost feel sad, bittersweet. There's these weird images of a crying girl and crying emoticons flashing on the screen. I was bombarded with emotions at that time, and confetti was shot into the air, and it rains down slowly like snow falling upon you. And I just remember the melody just engulfing me, and the crowd nobody knows what's happening. We're just in this moment as the confetti falls down and the imagery is flashing on the screen. This is a moment. I knew at that time that this was gonna be a moment I would remember. And obviously I did. I'm just in a state of pure bliss. It was that moment that really just felt like a turning point in my life. After all of that I'd been through, all the heartbreak and the just feeling broken, that moment is what finally felt like I could do this. I was going to get through this. I was going to move past this. Things were going to get better. I could finally move forward and be happy again. So I got my first tattoo a few years ago.
So today I get my first tattoo and I am pretty excited about it. So I get to go with my boy, my mans, Tony. We're both gonna get our first tattoos. Similar, very similar, but different.
Hey, say die. Die. You're never supposed to say, oh man.
And I've gotten several more since then, because I'm sure as anyone that has gotten tattoos can tell you, it's an addiction. Once the ball gets rolling, it just keeps going. But my first one, I held off for a while. Not because I didn't want a tattoo, but because I wanted my first one to be special. I wanted it to mean something to me and also be something that I was excited about, something I was excited to get, and also something I was excited to tell people about or show people or to explain the meaning behind. So it took me a while to come up with just the perfect tattoo, the perfect thing to put on my body forever. But I finally came up with it. For those of you familiar with language, you probably already know. But for those that don't, like I said, language doesn't have a lot of lyrics, but it does have a few. And the final words spoken in the track, the final words before this big, grand crescendo, the final words before this life-changing moment for me, this very bittersweet moment, the final words chanted by the crowd. They're simple and yet somehow perfectly fitting for the occasion. And that was 10 years ago, exactly to the day. 10 years ago is when I experienced Worlds live, where I got to experience some of my favorite songs that got me through such a tough time in my life in a completely new way. And where I got to hear the song that started it all, that started my love for Porter, in just the most beautiful rendition possible, in the most perfect environment possible, and at the most important moment in my life up until that point. It truly did feel like in that moment, I knew that I'll be okay, that everything will be okay, that things will get better. And so now I've got it on me forever as a memento of that day, of a memento of language, of Porter, of his music, of Worlds Live, and just as a reminder that things are tough. Things are hard. For those of you that have followed some of my videos, mainly the Porter ones, I've mentioned I've had a rough year. A lot has happened, but now I always have a reminder that I can get through it, that things will get better, and that I will be okay. So that's my favorite memory. Like I said, I love telling this story. I've told it to so many people, but I always had to condense it or leave things out or didn't have the footage to go along with it to really help sell how big of a deal and how life-changing this really was for me. So I'm glad I have this now as a way to commemorate it, as a way to share it in its entirety. And maybe other people can relate. I'm sure there are others that had a very similar experience to me in that room at the 930 Club in DC on that fateful day. I've seen Porter 6 times now, twice at Ultra, Worlds, Shelter, Nurture, and Smile. I've been there through all the eras, and I'll be there for any more that come. Porter is my favorite artist and will probably continue to be for the foreseeable future. And now I finally get to share a little piece about why. So thank you for watching. Porter, if for some reason you managed to see this, thank you for everything that you've done. I know you're just a person making music, but all weird, creepy, parasocial relationship aside, keep doing what you're doing. Obviously, you've had a big effect on me, as well as other people. I know you know that. I know you're very highly aware of that, for better or for worse. But please, just keep making music. The music you want to make. We'll be there. We'll keep supporting you. And you'll keep on changing lives. No pressure. No pressure. But thank you guys for watching. I hope this was an enjoyable video. I know it's different for me. It's not a review, but it is music related. It is Porter related. So hopefully you enjoyed. And let me know what I should check out next. But seriously, hope you all are doing well. Let me know your favorite memories in the comments. And keep on jamming out, my dudes. Peace. I'm recording this part several days after recording the rest, so everything probably looks a little different, but I'm wearing my World shirt. so it's okay. I just want to say thank you for watching the video. Hopefully you made it all the way through. I definitely still had to cut a lot out of this. There's so much more I wanted to say and so much more gushing about Porter and his music that I wanted to do, but it wasn't completely relevant to the story, so maybe another day. But if it wasn't obvious, Worlds is a very important album to me. It's a very important piece of music for me. It has a lot of nostalgia for me. There's so many emotions and memories that I have tied to that album, to that tour, and to Porter in general, as well as his other music as well. Again, there's not really enough time for me to really dive in. Maybe I'll do that some other time, but I did make a playlist in the description of various videos that will hopefully help communicate that to you. A lot of it is the videos that Porter was releasing during the World's Tour era that kind of document the experience and what he was thinking and feeling during this time. I think those are really entertaining and very interesting to watch. So I encourage you to watch that. It also includes some of the other videos that I spliced throughout this video. Also, shout out to Eliza Newman on YouTube. They're the person that captured the Porter Robinson at 9:30 Club Encore video that I used at the end here. I was not recording on my phone during the big moment, during the moment that is tied to my favorite memory, but they were. And based off of the angle of the video, they must have been almost right next to me in the crowd. So someone was there the same day, the same time, the same location, in almost the same exact place in the crowd and recorded this moment on my behalf. And I'm glad it is on the internet so that I can relive it and put it into this video. So big shout out to them. Thank you. And of course, thank you to anyone else I credited for the videos that I used. Couldn't have made it without you. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this sort of documentary style video. It's definitely something new for me, but I'm so glad I got to make it. But again, I do encourage you all to listen to Worlds or re-listen to Worlds and definitely watch the live set. There's actually a fully recorded version of the set at Second Sky that Porter did several years ago. So I encourage you to watch that to get the full experience. And if anyone else did experience it back when the tour was going on, let me know your thoughts. Let me know if it had any sort of similar effect on you as it did for me. And of course, once again, thank you, Porter, for creating such wonderful music that we can all get something out of. But that's my time. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Keep on jamming out, my dudes. Peace.